off topic a little bit first.
Well, I got to center myself then, don't I?
No, that's a good thing. Carli might become an NFL kicker, or perhaps.
You hear the next one that I'm going to be her agent for that deal?
Yeah.
Holy cow! Yeah.
What do you think of that whole thing and her capacity to strike a ball of another shape in a major pro league?
Oh, I think 100% she could do it. No doubt in my mind. Do it technically and do it mentally. I mean, obviously stepping on that field, with all those big guys and all, but I think she's got the steel internally, and I think she's got the range in her leg. I remember when I first came on the scene, I saw Carli Lloyd strike a ball on goal, and I was like, holy crap, that's the hardest I've ever seen a woman hit a ball. So she certainly has the velocity and the technique, and yeah, I think it's very cool. I think it'd be great.
Whether they're athletes or not, just that whole message of female empowerment.
Yeah, I mean, I think this team is, it's just a wonderful representation of things that I think are important for women to advance in society. And I think, there's a sense of power in terms of just strong, committed in the way they play, in the way they get after it. I think they're inspirational. I think that's also important, meaning I think what they stand for and what they're about off the field and on the field, I hope ignites, not just young boys and girls in our country, but all over the world. I think that was the fallout from the World Cup is I think this team went global, and I've heard from many, many people that around the world that this team has been a source of inspiration. So I think, it's symbolic of women, driven women wanting to achieve a dream and a goal and pursuing that and, and achieving that. And I think, so I think for young people to look at this group of women and see them, achieve something like, a World Cup trophy, victory, whatever you want to call it, I think it's a good message on staying true to your dreams and getting after it.
Do you see it as a role for someone already within the system, whether it's NWSL, Federation, or do you think someone from the outside could step in and handle some of the nuances of the program?
No, it's a lot of good questions. I think as I've looked at this and obviously been asked about it, I think I go here first. Generally, I go there first, but I go here first. And so this is what I would want for the new coach is to know that they would have my support. And so I think if I'm premature in what I think that should look like in terms of the coach or personnel or candidates and all that, I think then I don't think I have that capacity then to support whomever this person will be. So what I want to be is an advocate for that person once they're named and truly be a colleague for them. I think so no, I have not talked to anybody within the Federation or Kate about that.
Jill, you were recently asked about the Inter Miami job, and you said, I want to just catch my breath and finish out with the U.S. So without getting into any specific jobs, is coaching a men's team something that you would be interested in the future if the opportunity arises?
Gosh, I get asked that a lot, and part of what I answer that is because it's always asked, is people naturally see that as a step up, and I don't necessarily see it that way in terms of dealing with athletes and dealing with players. I coach the best team in the world. So I see it as not a this move, it would be a this move. That's how I personally feel about it. I've never coached men. I think players, I went through the pro license and what I learned a lot in there was, players, coaches, whether it's MLS, USL, international, we deal with many of the same things in terms of management and tactics and such. So, I wouldn't rule anything out because I don't think that's how I'm wired. I think I just look at what kind of comes down the pipe, and right now I'm not looking.
And just as a quick follow-up, kind of the opposite to that, currently in NWSL there's only one female coach.
Right.
So do you feel like this is a situation where there's just a lack of qualified candidates, or do you think there are some females out there that are being overlooked for these jobs?
I think, it's a good question. One, I definitely think we need more candidates to even pull from, and that should be, not just our federation's an initiative on that part, which I know they're working on. It should be, at every level, whether it's high school, whether it's, club soccer. I think there needs to be more of a push. But I think kind of just going back to your question, I think there's also a financial component to that, right? And I think that the college, you know, and I was a college coach, and so there's a comfort level in there in terms of security generally. There is, obviously it's a shortened season, there's, and typically it's a better paying job potentially than where we are yet with our pro league. You hope that changes. So I think, and it's not just about the money, what I'm trying to say, it's the whole picture of thing. Why would a female college coach leave to go into a position that's maybe less stable, maybe less paying, and that's sometimes a big leap. So I think what we need to do is to make these jobs more attractive in many ways in terms of continuing to build and grow our league. And then I think we need to continue to motivate, inspire women to get into coaching. You know, like part of what I want to try and do when I'm done with this is, you know, I'm supposed to go and speak to a group of 10,000 coaches, not soccer coaches, but women coaches online doing something, because I just think it's a, you know, it's something that we need to continue to promote.
Hi, Jill. I know obviously only a couple of games left, but calling up Kristen Hamilton for these couple of games, what are you hoping to get out of that call-up just in terms of either introducing her to the player pool or, you know, just giving her a look at the senior team?
Kind of an interesting story. I mean, we've obviously brought Casey Short back in, and you know, we are currently we're dealing with quite a lot of injuries. So I think it's, you know, the common sense piece is adding depth and making sure we have, you know, my number one goal with these players is to send them back healthy, and that means managing the minutes, using the subs, and those kind of things. So there's a strategic part to it. But Kristen was actually a player that, you know, probably 3 years ago, I was looking at. In fact, the game I was looking at, Taylor Smith got hurt. It was the final, and then they booked Kristen in as a right back, and then she got hurt. And I mean, I think it was a pretty big injury. And then she sort of transitioned into a different position, didn't play a whole lot in 2018, and now is back on the scene. So I've always liked her as a player. Good skill set, competitive, athletic. You know, I think she's got really good elements to her. And I just thought, you know what, this is she's having a great run in the league, and you know, we're a bit banged up, so it was a perfect opportunity to invite her in.
Jill, I wonder what you make of some of the recent NWSL turnouts at Audi Field, at Red Bull Arena. What's that been like, being able to watch that from afar?
It's awesome. I mean, I think I text Richie, the DC coach. You know, obviously I kind of spent some time as a young person in Northern Virginia. So to see that on that night, I thought was amazing. It was great. You know, as much as the World Cup was great for the global game, I think these events are fantastic. They're showcase pieces, and you just want to continue to, you know, attract people to come to the game. And I think part of that is looking as to why they're coming. You know, is it to see just the players? Is it to, you know, what did they do in their marketing? Because we want to continue to attract those kind of numbers as much as possible. So, in short, you know that there's a ripple effect from a World Cup, and there's going to be a bounce, but you want to see how we can continue that in terms of attendance and continue. The league is critical. It is critical to what we do.
Joe, with the concern of the injuries, have you ruled out specific players for the game tomorrow as well as the game next week?
Yeah, I mean, I take it one game at a time, but I think right now, you know, Rose and Alex are still in concussion protocol, so they're out. Pino's still out. And
Allie has family.
And Allie has a family commitment. Allie Krieger. She's, a personal commitment, so she won't be with us either. But they're here. I mean, Allie's not here, but the other ones are here.
We are here to do like an extensive report about soccer in women in the U.S. because it's an example for all over the world. How come in like 45 years or something, you go from 400 girls and women practicing soccer, and then you have like now 400,000 people, girls and women practicing soccer, and soccer goes to the fourth sport to women.
I think the starting point for the answer to that question is the sport itself and how special that is. And I think you guys, of course, know that in Portugal. You know, when people get attracted to something that's fun, that's energized, I think that's the key part. But I think, you know, that is there's so many layers to what grows the game. There's, at a top level, there's an investment from a federation in a national team. You create a national team that's now visible, and you have an event like the World Cup, and that just magnifies the reach of the event and of the sport. And And I think you have a country that's, open-minded to having women, thanks to Billie Jean King and then the women back then that have created Title IX, all that. I think that there's an open-mindedness to having females play sport. So I think there's just so many layers to that. But, I think that a large part of it is oftentimes for a country, I grew up in England, and it was very much the men's game. I think we have to have open-minded leaders that recognize, and that's what I hope the World Cup showed. People in federations, in organizations, and even in businesses to invest in this, because there is a great return on it. So I think how do we get to that point? A lot of hard work and a lot of people, but I think it has to be a collective energy. So I can certainly give a message to Portugal, like, get on it, let's go, because it's exciting.